can you be like a and a housewife truly?
You can be both.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can be both. I'm not, because I'm like dead from the waist down. I don't.
Well,
like,
your pelvis is
I don't want to anything. I'm like, the last time I someone, I gained 70 pounds. I'm good.
Okay, I have to drop a bomb on you guys. It's not crazy to me, but I just want to know if this is crazy for you to hear this. I miss being pregnant.
What?
She sounds so psychotic when she says that, because it was like episode after episode of like, guys, this shit sucks.
Yeah.
One and done. I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
Why did I? It was that. And to hear her say, I can't.
Yeah, I can't really wrap my mind around that.
Why?
That one.
Say more.
Well, I guess you didn't have like the split pelvis thing that I had.
But
you were.
It was
still
really bad.
Yeah,
I was
you hated
24.
it.
Yeah, I hated it. It was the worst time of my life.
So why do you want to be again?
I don't know.
I'm telling you, she's
something.
I don't understand. It's either masochism, something has shifted.
Yeah. Do you just, is it that you were like a distinct individual and now, and now
I have no identity?
And now now it's like you don't know who you are, because that I understand.
You do?
Yeah, I get it from that perspective.
Okay.
But now that I'm starting to like kind of feel like myself again, like now I'm like, that. Like I was like walking with her yesterday. I was like, one is perfect. I'm great.
Really? So, okay.
Yeah.
Why is this happening to me then? Why? Because I really was miserable.
You need to hang out with another kid. Have another kid over. Have somebody drop their kid at your house for like 24 hours.
You've
a
had
toddler.
that?
Yeah.
Why have you had that happen?
Because I was like, this feels so hard. And my sister was in town and I was like, oh, I'll watch my niece for the day. And then I watched my niece for the day. And by the end of that day, I was like, if the wind blows hard in my face, I'll cry. Like it was like that, you know what I mean? Like I've seen my friends. I just met up with a friend like on tour. I was like, my friend had 2 kids and she was dying to see us, and she was like, let's hang out, please. And like we got to the park. She's in the park with her 2 kids. She's like, they're sick. I didn't tell you. I just really needed to see someone. And then she was like, he's got lice. And I was like, what? Like, but, and so then I was like, okay, well, we're gonna go to lunch. And she was like, can I come? And I was like, no, like both your kids are sick. I'm sorry. And he's got lice.
I mean, can I say something even maybe more psychotic than that? Lice is one of my favorite childhood memories.
What? Yeah,
because of the picking? Because they...
Yes. It was the one time that my mom showed me like
affection.
I think like genuine attention is when we had this thing called a sood. Sood is like a really fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
And I just liked my hair being played with, and I was like, oh, I think my mom loves me, because we had, a difficult relationship.
Yeah.
I was like, look, my mom is like caring for me in ways that she usually wouldn't. Mm-hmm. And so lice and worms. Worms were a fond memory for me.
How do you go up the butt for that, or what do you do?
We used to have to take something for it. I'm sure it was like some version of like ivermectin or something like that.
Yeah.
But then the worms would come out your butt, and they felt, as a kid, it was a sensation that was very...
It was anal. It was anal for childhood. Yeah.
I remember pulling a worm out of my butt and liking it. I know that sounds crazy.
Oh my God.
I must have been like 7, but I was like, this isn't so bad. I'm not even sick, but this thing's coming out. It was cool and it was weird. And
it sounds exciting. Like if you're a kid and everyday life is boring, and then one day a worm comes out of your butt.
And you're like animals?
You create a core memory. You could give it a name. Like as a kid, I could see.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Thank you, Esther.
Maybe.
I mean, you were a dog. She was a dog.
Yeah. I wanted to be called Jacob or Pongo. I thought I was a male dog for many years of my childhood. You too?
I wanted to be a horse when I grew up. That was a different...
Wait, like horse girl?
Yeah. No, I just wanted to be a horse.
Like you wanted to, when you grew up, be a horse.
People were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? I was like, a horse.
Okay. Kind of. Being a comedian, it's like...
I mean...
Also possibly a sign of some mental instability.
Yeah, I'm like, nobody thought to put me in a Montessori.
I'll say this.
Nobody thought like maybe she's a sensory learner after that.
I'd rather be a horse than a stand-up comedian.
Me too.
I think you were
Stand-up comedian, I'm just more myself.
horrible.
What I was aspiring towards was a different species.
But there is that girl who runs on all fours really effectively. Have you seen her?
Yeah, I
The
have.
horse girl. And I think that she stole your dream, basically.
Yeah, except she didn't get a horse body. Like that was a main part of my dream.
Did you watch Fantasia and the centaurs?
I think that must have been like kind of where it came from, was like because they could fly, right?
They were just really presented as something very like strong and beautiful in Fantasia.
Oh, right. That's Pegasus is the flying
Pegasus,
horse.
Pegasus is the fly with the
Right.
wings.
Okay.
Okay.
We
Let's
should
go back.
do a full intro first.
Okay, fine. But then we have to go back to something.
yeah.
Today we have Rosebud Baker. She's been on the show before. She's literally my favorite human. She's so funny. She's on tour right now, getting ready. So you did this cool thing where you're filming a special, but you filmed half of it before you had your baby, and you're filming the second half after. And it's
Yeah.
going to be one. That's genius.
Oh,
Like-
well, I think...
I can't wait.
I mean, it feels like a good idea, but it's not done. So it's one of those things where if it's bad, people are going to be like, it was a good idea. So
Which is
there's
still
that.
very valid, and it's not going to be bad. I've seen all your clips. You're hilarious. Okay, now we know who Rosebud is, but you already knew. Let's go back. Let's bring yourself back to right after you had your baby.
Okay.
Was there any
Please no, by the way. Please no.
Was there any part of you then that was like, I would do this again?
No.
Really?
No.
What's wrong with me?
I think what you're experiencing is normal.
What's wrong with you?
I don't think anything's wrong with me either. I
Right.
think it's like you just like it's this crazy experience, and nobody really tells you like how to go through it. There's no like guide for the transition into motherhood. There's
No.
like, there's no like songs about it or anything like that. We can't like, most people want to ignore that moms exist. Like they
Yes.
don't, and even I, after becoming a mom, was like, oh, I don't respect this. and I was like, that's a bad place to be in, to be like, oh, I just became something I've never respected. It's like that's a really difficult place to be. So, there's like a while there where I was just like, what is this? And I would walk around and I would like see, but I didn't want to do it again because I was still so much in it, and I felt like so overwhelmed by it that I was like, I can't, no.
Yeah, I mean, my mom, I talked to my mom yesterday, and this is how she described early motherhood.
Yeah.
Because I was like, what was it like having a newborn? She was like, you know what? Like, I would look at you, or I would look at your sister when she was born, and I would think to myself, like, who are you? Like, I don't even know who this
Yeah.
thing is, what
Yeah.
this thing is. But then eventually I got to a point where I felt really sorry for you. And I was like, wow, like I'm the only one that can keep this thing alive. I was like, wow, how sentimental and emotional. Like her explanation of it was just so like painful to hear, because I was like, oh, you didn't have that. Like she didn't have that maternal like drive immediately. It took her a while.
Yeah.
And I found that really interesting, because I think you're right. It can go so many different directions for people.
Well,
This is the thing that Jessie Klein wrote about in her second book. It's so good. And she says that everyone wants to picture their mom as like when you were newborn, that your mother is this like goddess who's just there to purely care for you. But it's like the truth is your mom is like stressed and there's all these things. But we want to picture it this other way.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you think of them as like a god or whatever,
Yeah.
But now I'm like, I look at my mom and I go like, oh, I get why she fucked up, or like, or why I thought she would have fucked up. Like she was just a human being who had a child and had no way of like understanding.
She had 4 children, right?
She had 5.
5.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's like, but my mom's a great mom. I never had any real like, issues with my mom. I mean, that sounds like someone that doesn't know themselves, but like, you know what I mean? But as far as, it was pretty typical.
My life is perfect.
Yeah. But like, it was pretty typical.
Yeah.
And,
it's all girls, right?
yeah, it's all girls. We
Your
don't
mom
make men
birthed
in my family.
5 women. That is
Yeah.
5 girls.
Yeah.
Did
That's
she
the
keep
dream.
going? Did she keep
Yeah.
going because she was hoping for a boy?
I think she kept going because my dad was hoping for a boy. I think that's what it was.
That tracks.
I think that's really what it was. But
And there were twins in your family.
Yeah.
And was that an accident or like?
I don't think anybody has twins on purpose. I don't think anybody's like, oh, let's. I mean, I think it's like a positive once people find out, oh, okay, we've got 2, we can be done after this.
Right.
But like, you don't have twins last on purpose. You know, like they were like really hoping for a boy and they got twin girls. And they were like, okay, we'll stop here. This is becoming a problem.
Now, a couple things. I have so many things. My brain goes crazy when you're here. Firstly, last time you said that you had, like, you now see that motherhood is its own expression of creativity, and like that's how your mom was creative as a mom.
Yeah.
And I could not agree with that more now that I'm a mom.
Yeah.
I feel so fulfilled creatively, like just by being a mom.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was such a beautiful thing that you said and like gave credit to. And I'm like so glad that you did, because it's obviously resonating with me now. Also, and forgive me if this is like, you know, difficult territory, but now that you are a mom, like because I know that you lost a sibling when you were younger.
Yeah.
Is it so much, do you view that differently?
I look at my mom now and I go, how the fuck did you survive? Like, so we just passed the anniversary of her death, and I don't really say things from like on a sentimental level to my family. Like I try to avoid any kind of sentimentality, especially with my mom, because she is so sentimental that I'm like, okay, you gotta stop. Like we can't, I don't have enough time to listen to the tears. But I did on that day text her and just be like, you know, none of us could have, the fact that you were able to show up and mother the rest of us while going through that pain now to me is like mind blowing. Like I'm like, and she stayed sober. Like I'm like, fucking, it's just incredible to me what she was able to like go through. And she's so positive that I'm like, what? It's crazy. I mean, I'm truly like the angel of death next to my mom. Like her attitude is like, she's so happy. She's like, if she was sitting on this set, it would feel like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Like she's so, yeah.
Wait, can I ask you about that? What's it like growing up with a happy mom?
It's nice. I mean, it's nice. Like, I really like, she was really fun and she wanted to play games with us and she was like excited, you know.
Holy shit.
And she was like really a great mom.
This is so mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
I've never, and this is, it hurts me to say, I never saw my mom, I've never seen my mom genuinely happy. Maybe like now in the last like 10 years, I've seen like glimpses of it, but I cannot think of a single memory where I felt like, oh, there's mama doing what she loves or feeling good, or it was always just a general feeling of like despair and like fear and anxiety. That's all I felt. Like her essence was fear and anxiety. And I'm so envious when I hear you say like, oh, my mom's like, it's like Mr. Rogers. Yeah. It's like, that must have been such like a great feeling to be around.
It was, but there was also something about it. There've been times, you know, I want to give her like credit where it's due, but I also feel like there've been times where it's like, I felt, you know, like I couldn't say when something made me angry or when something made me upset. Like, and so now, and I've always been kind of like a bulldog, just personality wise. And I think there were things about my personality that kind of scared my mom a little bit, that were like, she just found them to be like a little harsh or aggressive.
I have that too with my mom, where I like distinct memory of her being like us fighting, you know, that teen fight where the era where every girl's fighting with her mom. And I just remember she said something like, I don't understand how you're my kid. Like I was so different from her. Yeah. And that is challenging. Right. But now we're so close. Yeah. But yeah, and I think about that a lot now. Like, is my daughter going to be so different from me and hate me? Like, probably, right?
Yeah.
but I think now...
I mean, and the thing is you won't even know why until she's 30, so it doesn't matter. Like, I was thinking about that. I was, like, at work, and Andy had taken our daughter on stage at one point. Like, he was, like, doing a set, and our babysitter left, and so he was like, I gotta bring her. And I was like, keep her the fuck off all comedy stages, no matter what. Just don't do it. You know, like, that was kind of something that we had agreed on. And he was like, well, I have to make it to this set. And, like, he brought her. And I was at work and I got this call. I had FaceTimed him and I saw that she was there, and I was just like, and I was really hormonal, and I just started like crying in my office. And it was, yeah. And another writer walked in, and I was like, I'm sorry. I'm like, I just feel like my daughter is like at a comedy club right now, and she's like a baby, and they don't belong there. And like, they're, you know what I mean? Like, keep her the fuck away from our disgusting lives, please. You know? And I don't know why I was just like, please just keep her away from that. It's disgusting. There's like fucking pedophiles everywhere. I just keep her out of it. And so I was like, you can't hand her to anybody. So he went on stage with her in a fucking baby Bjorn, because I was like, don't hand her off to any comic. I don't want anybody touching her. So he was like, okay, but I'm crying in my office, and my friend walks in, and I was like, is she gonna hate me when she like sees this stuff? And he looked at me and he was like, she's gonna hate you, but not for this. Like, it'll probably be for something else. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. And it's like, that's why I love my friends that don't have kids, because they'll be like, you can say something that's like really upsetting, and they just kind of have this like amazing, like they can take you out of your own hormones for a second and be like, okay, this is how the world really is. And like, I felt better. You know?
That's so real too. It's like, how would we ever know what is going to be the thing that they're upset about later?
Right.
We have no idea. We're clueless when it comes to that.
I heard this thing by Gabor Mate, and he basically was like, if your parents give you this much shit, and
me
even
nodding like I know who Gabor Mate is like
this. He's like this amazing psychiatrist. Man who's just studied early childhood development and trauma and the effects of that.
He's totally in my algorithm right now with his parenthood stuff. What is this? Give it to me. I want to hear it.
So basically, he says it a lot more beautifully, because he just is very poetic with everything he says. But there's this girl who asks him, like, you know, I'm very, like, you know, I don't know if I want to be a mom, not be a mom. And he was like, what are you most afraid of? And it's like, you know, like fucking her up. He's like, oh, you absolutely will. But if your mom gave you this amount of shit, or your parents did, and if you give them even like a smidge less than that, you've done a great job. Yeah. Like, if you've just lessened the amount, because you're still going to fuck them up one way or another. Right. We just aren't aware of what kind of how we can fuck them up, because like the world will change. There's so many things that they have to adapt to that probably like we don't know what that is yet.
Totally.
Right?
You can't protect your kid from having a human experience.
No.
Right.
You know what I mean? To. I'm thinking about how.
Yeah, I'm going to keep her in the closet that is her nursery right now.
What do you guys think, though? I mean, I know the whole like nurture versus nature thing, but do you think that kids do come with their own factory settings, or do you put those settings in?
I think that it's like
their personality,
that
character.
They come as they are, and you can't do a lot to change them. That's sort of like what I think I've heard, right?
I have no fucking idea. I don't know. I mean, we'll see. You know, there's definitely going to be stuff in there that I'm like, I don't know if it's genetics. I don't know if it's this. I don't know if it's that. I just kind of am like excited to see who she is. Like right now, it's really fun to watch her personality start to like coalesce and like see where, because she's really kind of cunty in like a fun way.
How is that possible?
It's like anytime Andy comes up to like give her a kiss, she like the other day he came up to give her a kiss and she went like this. And like like I'm with my mom, you know what I mean? Like she's got this thing right now where it's like she just wants to be with me, and it's oh god, it feels really good. Oh. And yeah, it makes me feel like a god. It's fucked up. But like, and you're messing with her, if she has a hat on, she'll be like, God, and she makes these sounds that are like, ah, God, you know, like she would be cursing if she could, but she can't. So it's like, it's just kind of fun to see like who she is and what she's going to be like. And then she also is really like sweet and friendly, and like she loves, like anytime we walk into a place where there's a lot of people moving around, she starts kicking her legs and she's like, whoa, what's going on here? Like she's like a party animal. So I'm like, it's like fun to see. I don't, you know.
Well, you also think about like, because this is how naive I was, and this was very recent too, where I was talking to my friends. I was like, I always wanted to know what it would be like to have a full sibling, because I only have one sister. She's a half sister. And then I was saying something like, but it probably would have never been a good thing, because my personality, like I wouldn't, and having another me in the house would have been like too much, and I wouldn't have liked it. And then my friend who has like 3 siblings was like, you're not the same as your siblings. Like your sibling wouldn't be exactly like
Right.
you.
Yeah.
And then you think like, oh, so how could it be nurture if it's like you're raised the same? Like you and
Yeah.
are you and your sisters all very
No,
different?
we're completely different.
That's-
It's so crazy.
That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Like that has to be.
It's the same. It's kind of cute though. It's like my sister and I are completely opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of personality. Like everything about us
Like,
is
how
so
does that
opposite.
happen?
But
Right.
we're basically like, what do they call them? Irish twins. We're like a year apart, right?
Yeah.
We're so close. We're so bonded. We almost feel like twins. Like we can finish each other's sentences, but we could not be more different.
Yeah.
In all the ways. But it's kind of this like harmonious, like there is like a deeper understanding there because you grew up in the same like
Yeah.
household. You have the same abuser enemy, all
Yeah.
the same trials, and you're in the trenches with them, right?
Yeah.
Don't you guys think that that's also related to birth order? Like that?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
true.
because she really is like she is very much an older sister, even though we're very close in age.
See, my sister and I'm older than her, but she feels so much older than me.
Really?
And like bought a house first, had a kid first.
Are you the firstborn?
Yeah.
Oh,
You are an unusual firstborn.
Yeah.
You are not reading
Yeah.
like a firstborn at all.
You are a very
you guys-
unusual firstborn.
How can you read that?
you have the youngest sibling energy?
Yeah, you
'Cause-
have like the rebel
Yeah.
spirit.
Okay. Yeah. I guess my youngest sibling is most like me in the family. So like the youngest we're the most similar.
Huh.
But like, yeah, I guess it's weird because we're not. My sister, who's younger than me, does seem much older.
Well, there you go,
In
Stella. Theory debunked.
Talk to me about how you're changed by motherhood, because I am like, if I could go back and just delete everything about myself from pre-motherhood, I would just easily press that button. Like, I don't like who I was before. I don't know why I waited so long. Like, I am so all in on this, but maybe this will fade. Maybe this is just like the honeymoon phase. Like, where are you at? What do you think of this?
I had a totally different reaction than you to that.
What?
I had like it was harder for me to let go of like my identity pre-motherhood. You know, I felt like I felt like I'd done a lot of work on myself that I was like, I know who I am in a way that feels really secure to me, and I like that. And like, the thing about motherhood that scared me the most was how I really genuinely was like, oh, I don't know like who I am anymore. Like, I know who I was, but I don't know who I am now, and I don't like that. I don't like that feeling. I love her. I love being around her, but being a mom feels alienating and weird and isolating. And even when I talk to other moms, sometimes I feel totally isolated. Like, I'm talking to people, not so much anymore, but when I first had her, I felt like I was talking to everybody from behind like a glass. And so that was really hard for me. Now I'm slowly kind of realizing, like, I'm reading this book. It's called, it'd be cool if I could remember the name of it. Matrescence.
Oh, I'm reading
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
Wait,
And it talks
because of
about
the cut, right?
The cut talked
yeah.
about that.
yeah. And I'm like, it talks about how like caterpillars, they have like, when they go into their chrysalis, they dissolve themselves, their bodies dissolve themselves into goo, and they're able to hold on to memories from before they were butterflies or moths.
Oh.
And they tested this by giving them like ethyl acetate while they were caterpillars, that like and electric shocks or
Yeah.
whatever. And then when they became butterflies, they tested the ethyl acetate, and they were like, they still didn't like it. So that was one of the ways that they found out that they can hold on to memories,
I
Okay.
love that.
which is so cool.
And this was like, I think the term was coined like in the 70s, right? And this
Matrescence?
author, and then she
Yeah.
like brought it back because
Right.
it describes so much of, like now that we're actually paying attention to not always the plight, but just motherhood in general and what that does.
It always makes me think, when I hear that word matrescence, it makes me think of the word matricide, which is from Psycho, when you kill your own mom. Anyway, where are you going with the
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Matricide and patricide, yes.
Yeah, and matrescence ends when you kill your own mom. So that's the end of matrescence.
But that's so cool. So butterflies remember their previous selves before the entire metamorphosis is over with.
Okay, so keep explaining, because I read it and I didn't understand it. I need you to keep going.
Well, just like that to me is it's like valuable, because we were our distinct selves before having a kid, and then you become like two people in one. And that's really confusing, because you're like, I don't even know what my body wants anymore, if this is me wanting this or if this is the other person wanting this. And like everything feels different. Like traffic is louder is one of the things that like she talks about in the book that was really true for me. Traffic became so loud, and like
the sense of smell
was crazy. But like for me, it was like scanning. Dangerous situations seemed much more dangerous. Like I was always scanning for danger.
During pregnancy or after having the baby?
Both.
Okay.
But that's what I learned too from that documentary, Babies, is how your brain chemistry completely changes, and that's why like you have a new level of anxiety and the scanning thing.
And you can't remember celebrities' names. That also happens.
Wait, that helps.
Yeah. But it feels like that. I'm not really answering the question exactly because it's so hard to answer.
Yeah.
But to me, the most difficult part of motherhood is like, I've always been what I consider a feminist, and I feel like most feminists they sort of leave moms out of the equation. Like motherhood has kind of been left out of feminism in a way that I've found to be like really hard to work into my way of being, you know?
I get that, because I do see the trend of even like the child-free conversation,
which is great.
Really ties it. There is a kind of like more it's more adjacent to feminism than motherhood is, even the anti-child or the child-free thing.
Right.
Like when you talk about conversations of like just, whatever wave of feminism that we're in, it's always like, well, I get to not have children. And so it kicks the conversation in motherhood like as like a separate thing.
Right.
Again.
And I think that's important too, because it's always bothered me that women are judged for not having children.
Right.
They aren't believed when they say that they enjoy their lives without children.
Right.
But then you become a mother, and it's all of a sudden it's like no one gives a shit. Right. Like no one gives a shit. Even like, people will watch the pod and be like, oh God, they're just like making moms. They make it their whole personality. It's like, well, it's not our whole personality.
Well,
but
for me it is.
A lot
just
of
so the listeners know, that is all I have moving forward. Just to be clear.
But it's like, even if I'm like somebody that wants both, I'm like, I still want to be my own person.
Yeah, and I think I do too.
And you do too. Like, you know what I mean?
Maybe, I don't know.
Whatever. You just had your baby, and it's like there's like a moment there where you're just like, this is it. Like I'm, but like, I was having trouble with that, like during that time period. I was like, it feels really weird to me that I can't put my finger on like why I feel so invisible.
Whoa.
And that was like, and I guess on a fucking ego level, it bothered me. Like, I was like, I was like, this feels, and I'm not talking about like hot or what, I'm talking about just like invisible. Nobody gives a shit.
Not
your
represented
opinion
or something.
Nobody asks you like your opinion about anything outside of that, outside of the realm of like motherhood and gynecology and like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I would get questions about gynecology from friends that I hadn't heard of or heard from in years, and I'm like, what? Like, I have other things to talk about. You know what I mean?
This is like you're kind of touching a little bit on this like subject that I feel like is a little bit sensitive, but like I always wanted to ask you both because like, you know, just being a hypersexual minded person that I am, like having, you know, really liking that part of myself and being sexual and being kind of horny, you
That
know,
does
whatever.
not go away.
I know, but it's like when you're pregnant, I know like in the second trimester, you get a lot of like weird sexual dreams. Your blood is rushing to the right places, or at least, you know, my friends who are moms are like, oh, I've never been hornier or whatever.
Yeah, luckily that only hit me in the third trimester when I was an absolute fucking whale. But yeah.
I had none of that.
But you know, it's
Pregnancy
like,
was like
Madonna horror complex, right? Like, is there a part of motherhood where you kind of have to like put that aside temporarily in order to be like effectively like maternal, or can you be like a hoe and a housewife truly?
You can be both.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can be both. I'm not, because I'm like dead from the waist down. I don't.
Well,
like,
your pelvis is cracked
I don't want
in
to
half.
fuck anything. I'm like, the last time I fucked someone, I gained 70 pounds. I'm good. But like, but I do think that for me, like that's part of the thing. That's what I'm saying. It's like the fact that you in your own body are asking, is it okay to be both of these things? It's like, if that's what you are, then how could it not be?
Right, because it's like,
You know what I mean?
is it okay that like, you know, to fantasize about, you know, gangbangs still?
Right.
You know, and it's like, it feels so dirty because you're thinking like, oh, but I'm someone's mother. But I'm like, wait, like I can have that duality, can I not? But the permission, I think, is because the way motherhood is talked about, it kind of like takes that part away from you sometimes, or there's a shame around it,
right,
when there really shouldn't be a shame around it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I think that's what I'm saying is like, there's so much patriarchy around motherhood, where it's like, oh, this is the most divine work that you could ever do, and it's joyful, and it's nothing else. It's just joyful. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's a lot of drudgery. There's a lot of fucking, it's hard, and it's like disgusting. And I think I found shit in my underwear one day while I was pregnant. Like, I think I genuinely found shit in my underwear. Like, it's a disgusting process because it's natural. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's not as pretty as people.
The months that I have of just drooling.
Just drooling.
It really was, though.
I had excessive saliva. This is one pregnancy symptom that I had forgotten until like last week, and I was like, oh, I can't do that.
Yeah, I would feel so bad for you, Esther. Like, we'd be on FaceTime and she would just have like 3 little towels or saliva towels, and I could
just, like talking to a Newfoundland. You'd wipe yourself off every.
And she would like, you know, it would be not even real speech. It would be like a half gurgle because it was filling up in her mouth, and I felt so terrible for you.
That is so awful that I like. That sucked.
Yeah,
that I will not look back on that delusionally. Like, that was horrible.
Yeah.
Okay, back to this feminism thing. I hadn't really thought about it until you're saying this, but I do feel a little bit of like a shame in being so, how happy motherhood has made me.
Right.
Because it's kind of anti-feminist to be like, oh,
but I think
I feel fulfilled.
But it's not.
That it's not. None of it is anti-feminist. It's just that motherhood tends to be kicked out of that equation.
Yeah.
But I think that all versions of it are okay, and all versions of it should be celebrated.
But don't you understand why it would feel like you're almost like you're telling all the people who choose to be child free, like it almost feels like you're saying like, oh, you can only be fulfilled by motherhood or something. But that's just my experience right now.
But
and
again,
I don't feel so excited to scream that from the rooftop because you know what I mean?
But it's also not. It's not necessarily true for other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
That's the thing that I go like, it might not even be true for other moms. So that's the thing where, but that's not anti-feminist. It's how you're feeling about your pregnancy and about your your daughter.
And I love hearing, personally, I love hearing both sides of it. I love hearing the drudgery. I love hearing when people are just so loving being, you know, moms in this period. I like all of it. I like child-free rants. I like mommy rants. And that's what it is. It's like, it feels as though you have to pick a side, and you fucking don't. If you're joyful, be joyful. Say it with your whole chest. If you're miserable, say it with your whole chest. Like, all of it is okay.
If women are people,
Right.
then that includes all different kinds of women and all different kinds of people and all different kinds, like all different reactions to the same thing, because people will have different reactions to the same experience, you know? So that's like, and when I say like, when I'm talking about this, by the way, I'm like, I'm not talking about my daughter. My reaction to my daughter is very different than my reaction to motherhood.
Right.
Which they're two separate things, at least the way that I've felt them, the way that I've experienced them, you know? And I think it's important to like mention that, because you can't really talk. This is another thing that's so fucking like, I feel like trapped by, is like, I can't really say how my experience has been without first being like, but oh my God, best thing I've ever done in my life, blah, blah, blah. Like, I have to say that for people to hear the other part.
Right. You have to almost preface everything you say, because there is that fear of someone
could say something like, oh, what a horrible mother she must be, or like they could say something devastating, which is like not even true.
No,
and
because you are like, I feel like, because we were pregnant at the same time, then you had your baby, and then I was pregnant for a while, and I was just having so much joy and watching and all the stuff that you shared with you and your daughter, and was like, oh my God, this looks so fun, she's so happy, like this is amazing. And so there's no, I very much see the distinction of like how you feel about your baby versus motherhood on you, and how I've just experienced you the last 6 months or whatever. So I'm glad you're articulating that, because I had never thought of it like that.
Yeah, it's different.
Like, they're two different things.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard of chimerism?
No.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I can't.
It's tripping me up. So I think I learned about it once upon a time in college, but you're seeing it more on TikTok now, where basically, like, you start off as twins, right, in the womb, and then one twin sort of cannibalizes the other, but then takes on their DNA. So you have split DNA.
What?
It has to be two fraternal twins. It cannot be identical. So you cannot have the same set of DNA. And so you could get away with murder, basically, because you have your brothers. Let's say, for instance, if you ate your brother, or if you absorbed your brother,
right,
like an anglerfish.
Yeah.
And
so you're getting away with two murders.
Right. So apparently,
what?
So, but what I find cool about it is that people with asymmetry in their face are finding out that it's not, they're not born naturally asymmetrical. It's because half of them is someone else, is their twin.
That's not.
I swear to God, it's true. Chimerism, chimeral twins.
This is on TikTok?
And they become one. It becomes one person.
It becomes one person.
Oh no.
Yeah. So
I'm like, is it me?
Oh no. I know, that's what I was thinking for myself, because I have like one Jean-Claude Van Damme eye and then one normal. I was like, what if I'm one of those?
No, you're not eligible. You have one of the most symmetrical faces I've ever seen in my life.
We're not going down that road for you at this time.
Yeah, I mean, you've been like yassified by God.
Thank you. I was thinking how it would be so fun if you had two separate sets of people in you.
Yeah.
That does not sound fun. I'm already like, there's so much inner conflict. Like, I couldn't imagine upping it.
I think there's something pretty sexy about, I absorbed someone in the womb. I came in hot. You know what I mean?
And imagine if they were like, oh, you have DID or like dissociative disorder. You're like, no, I'm literally two people is why.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You could use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
Anyways.
They're the most non-binary people.
They really are. Yeah.
Do you feel any of the brain changes from becoming a mom? Because I feel those really much more strongly than I ever could have imagined.
I do feel dumber in terms of like my everything is beyond the words are beyond my reach still in a way that I wasn't.
That's my whole life.
I'm still not really cool with. Yeah, executive functioning was not on. I was not great at that before, but now it's like I'm really struggling.
That's always been my struggle. I'm always so envious of people whose brains are connected to their mouth and they can just get things out so fast.
Yeah.
My processing
No, I know.
speed has always been a little bit delayed, but it's like the thought is there. It just takes a while for it to travel to my tongue.
Yeah, just grabbing it out of the atmosphere is pretty tough.
So I don't need pregnancy for that. I feel like I'm already.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. But-
Yeah.
I'm
Are we allowed to open these, by the
Yeah.
way?
Are
Okay.
you allowed to open these?
I'm like, is there like do we cheers it? I forget. Okay.
I'm
have a
wondering
question.
if go ahead.
I just have a question as moms. Like, do you think the problem is sort of just within women sort of judging one another or judging choices that they make, or like, do you think that's part of the problem? Is that we all don't have empathy for one another, or people who are hardworking but don't have kids are like, it's not the same as being like, there's just all this judgment that's kind of created by women and the choices they make.
I don't think that's created by women.
Thank you. Here, cheers,
Yeah,
banana.
true.
Yeah, that's definitely not created by
not
women.
created by women, but like culturally maybe taught to women. I don't know.
I mean, that's the symptom. I mean, that's, I think, what women experience, like, you know, being pitted against each other, not having to have diverse stories and all stories are acceptable.
Right.
But I don't think we created that amongst ourselves. It's
I think
just,
if men would believe that women can be happy with children or without them, maybe the women that have like severe internalized misogyny would fucking lay off each other, you know, and themselves a little bit.
yeah.
But I mean, that's not funny, but that's how I feel.
No, that's so real. Yeah, like it's funny. I had a mom friend make a joke about that. Like something came up about being judgmental, and she said something like, "We're moms. Like that's what." Like we do, and I sort of thought that there was something cute to that. It was the first time where I was like, "Oh, being judgmental is like part of
What I do now.
Yeah, I don't know. Which that I really don't have a point with that, but I just had like a funny experience.
That makes me think of
Being
why
like, moms can be judgy. It's fine.
my aunties were just big gossipers. I
Yeah.
mean, gossiping was, but then I found out that like the Philippines, where I'm from, has like the lowest rate of serial killers because we're like a big gossip culture. But I think it comes from the aunties and the moms who are always scanning their surroundings, who are very like kind of hyper vigilant about stuff, but are also really good at not keeping secrets and then telling their neighbors and each other like that dude was weird. And so I'm like, oh, like gossiping and judging, maybe even prematurely, I'm like, it has its purpose.
Like maybe that's a form of protecting your child.
I think so.
I don't like. I'm open to that.
Or yourself, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely, whenever I'm like about to take a gig, and I'll call somebody and be like, have you done this? How were they?
Yeah.
You know, like, is this booker a criminal?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's like just intel. Yeah.
Does the van have windows? That kind of thing.
I think that I might have just been. This is my theory about what's my little transformation I'm experiencing. Is I think I was just so wildly childish up until the minute I became a mom that like I had a lot of room to grow and to change. Whereas I feel like I look at some of my other friends and I'm like, I don't think that they'll be this changed by motherhood because they're already like halfway there. You know what I mean? Like I think I was just so immature. But like I look at one of my best friends who's pregnant and I'm like, she's already a mom, you know? Or like I have a girlfriend who's a mom and I'm like, were you so changed by this? And then we look at each other, we're like, you were always like this. So I do think my change is because I was holding on to being a childish baby for 36 years.
So it feels like a brand new experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you feel like maybe you were not a childish baby?
I don't feel, I've never felt like a child, even when I was a child.
Okay, there we go.
Even when I was a child, I didn't feel like one. I was like, I never like had my shit together, but I did feel like I might not have my shit together, but you all are fucking idiots. Like that's kind of how I always was like, well, whatever's going on over here, they don't know what they're doing, so I'll take care of myself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Interesting.
I was always that.
So do you feel like,
but that has gotten worse in motherhood. Like it's almost like any character kind of defect that you have just sort of like comes up. It's the same way that like when you first start dating somebody, mm-hmm. you have these like wild highs, but then all of the parts of yourself that are like wounded kind of start acting up. That it's that on like 5,000, like you're just you. And I didn't even start realizing it honestly until this month. Like I was like, oh shit, I've been like hard on myself to a point that is detrimental to everyone around me, including myself. And now I'm like having to go, it's okay, it's not like nobody's really paying attention to you like that. No one is like checking to see that you did it perfect. No one's checking it. No one cares.
I am so hard on myself. That is another huge like new thing. I am so hard on myself as a mom. It's really what is that like on purpose?
I know
from biology. Like I'm just so
maybe it is like maybe it's biological, but I think a lot of it is, I don't know. All I know is it's not good. It doesn't feel good. It just feels bad.
Don't do it.
But it's hard. It's really hard.
How are you attacking that? How are you not being hard on yourself? Do you have advice?
I like just became kind of more aware of it, so I can't say that I've really made great strides.
Yeah.
But one of the ways is like, okay, if I see my daughter and her dad having a moment where they're having fun, I try to like stand back and be like, okay, like, cause he plays with her in a way where it's like today we were at the park and he like put her up in this tree and I, I'm like, and I just was like, okay, it's good for her. It's good for her to like move her body in different ways. And the way that he holds her is like more reckless and they wrestle and like, it's good for her to like learn how to use her body that way.
Oh, that sounds so hard.
Where I'm like,
you have to just.
I just want to like hold her and be like,
yes.
You're the sweetest little thing I just did. You know what I mean? Like,
no, when I see even the tiniest bit of roughhousing with Donut, our dog, I'm like, that's so hard. I can't handle it. I'm like, she's small. You don't understand how small she is. Like you're not paying attention to how small she is.
Right.
Other dogs can handle that. She can't.
Right.
That sounds really hard.
I know.
God, I don't know how you. Oh God.
But it's like, I also. My baby's a fucking tank. Like she's a real, you know what I mean?
Big.
Yeah, she's a.
Not to bring in very grim statistics, but most young grim pediatric statistics. Mm-hmm. No, but it's like it is true, right? Like when children that you see, young babies, shaken baby syndrome, subdural hematomas, 99% of them are caused by dads. Like there's a reason why like you have that instinct to be like, what are you doing with my child? Even though it's like you see the value in them like spending time and like having this whole other kind of like parent in their lives. You gotta, they don't have the same mechanism we do to not roll over our babies, right? Like I could be assaulted in a separate room and my boyfriend could be like, just sleep through the whole night and not find my body till 3 days later, right? But they just don't have the same like mechanism. And I think that inherently, like biologically, we know they don't have that. So it's like it's
in the beginning it was really like, I think it was like biological, like just don't stay. I'm like, I got her, you know what I mean? Now it's a little more like okay, she's like almost 9 months, we can, you can have a little fun with her. I shouldn't like hog her to myself, because now when you try to give her a kiss, she goes like, get out of my face. She's palming his face. So I'm like, we got to work on this. You know what I mean? She has an affectionate dad who's like sweet and kind and emotional, and I didn't have that. And I'm like, I want her to have that. So I'm like, let him around her. You know what I mean?
That is interesting though. I do like the stiff arm.
I know, I do. I like it too.
Cute. I want to see that.
It's really cute.
Nothing would bring me more joy than my child stiff arming my partner.
It's pretty great. It's pretty great.
Yeah,
I'm proud of her. I'm like, Hell yeah.
I know. I really want. I'd be lying if I didn't say I want her to watch her do that to Dave. And I love Dave, and I
She
love
will.
her.
She will. At one point, she will.
I want to be number one.
Yeah, but I'm like, when the day comes where it's like she switches teams and she's on her dad's side, I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna walk into the woods. I swear to God.
I wasn't here the last time you were here, but I do know that you had to tape your pelvis up. Is it some,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
are you put back together?
Yeah, it actually
Really?
immediately goes back together after you give birth. And that was, I mean, when I tell you I was in more pain walking into the hospital than I was walking out after a C-section,
No
I'm not kidding
way.
at all. Like, I was in so much pain that when they gave me the spinal, like they put that needle in your back, I didn't feel it. I was like, all the pain was like here, and I was just miserable. I mean, on a level that I just have so much respect for like chronically ill people, because I'm like, that is a life that I felt that was the closest I've ever been to like genuinely like ill. And
Yeah.
oh my God, it was really brutal. But
You know what else what I realized after being pregnant too? It's like, oh, it's not that like some people are weak and that pregnancy is hard for them. It's like some people, it's just not hard for them.
Yeah.
Some
Yep.
people, their bodies are different, and pregnancy is able to be this lovely, beautiful
Yeah.
time. And like, it just wasn't that for me, or for you.
Yeah.
And because there's a lot of discourse online of like, what's worse, being pregnancy tired or newborn tired, and like all these people like argue about it, and I'm like, there's no way to have this argument because everyone experiences both of those things so differently.
Yeah.
And that there's no universal answer. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was like, I swear pregnancy tired is worse. There's no way newborn tired can be worse. And then I'm like, it's different for everyone. There's
Yeah.
no answer here.
yeah,
So
totally.
A lot of this episode has been about how miserable you were pregnant, Esther, but it started out you saying that you wanted to be pregnant.
I know, I still do. It's crazy. I want to be
Okay, I
pregnant
just wanted to
again.
point that out.
No,
No,
something's wrong. In my brain. I don't know what it is.
Well, it's also the rush of like, I will say that I did say after I gave birth, I was like, oh, I get why people do this again. And I said, I get it. I didn't say that I want to do it, but I did say I get
Can
it.
you explain why you got it?
Because meeting her was the greatest feeling I've ever had in my life. Like seeing her, holding her for the first time, meeting her was the greatest experience I've ever had. And
I love how you use the word meeting. It makes it so much more like
Yeah.
it's
Like
a
seeing her
person.
face, yeah.
It's a real like conscious being.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, oh, when I had my baby, it's like, no, when you're meeting your
Yeah.
daughter. It's
Yeah.
so cool.
yeah, and she was like, and she was just so loud, and she was so big, and she was like, she snored as a newborn, and I was like, that's so amazing. Like, I would like record her snoring on my phone, and just like, and I still like listen to it just to like remember that feeling of like, and I still feel it every time I look at her. Like, sometimes I look at her and I'm just like, there's nothing new you can say about it because it's all been said. It's all of the
Right.
fucking, the cliches are true. Except for that you've never known love until you have a child. That's a bullshit
Oh, I
cliche.
disagree.
But
That's
I find that to be like one of the most, because it's not, I don't think it's love. I think it's a new feeling. I think it's a
Yeah.
brand new feeling.
It is a new feeling. You're right, but I did feel like, oh, this is so much more meaningful than anything else I've personally felt.
Yeah.
But then
Agreed.
that would be.
But
a
it's
new
not
feeling,
love because you love your partner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm kind of like with you on
But I'm
this
not putting his
because I
feet in my
cannot-
mouth. You know what I mean? It's that.
I hope you're not.
Yeah.
Like, I cannot think of truly, genuinely, like deeply loving anyone as much as I love my sister.
Yeah.
Like, I love her so much. She's the one thing I love most on this planet.
Yeah.
Wow.
And like, I'm curious to see when the time comes, when I'm ready to have kids, like how it will feel different or similar to that. because like my heart feels so full when I think about her, or like in a way that's like, oh, she is the person I trust the most, I respect the most, I want to be kindest to, like all the things you want to kind of feel for your own child, right? I'm like, so I do wonder how different the love I'll feel for my child is compared to the ultimate kind of love I've felt thus far in my life.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have a prediction for that? Because you have a lot of sisters. It's got to be different.
It is different. It's different. I mean, I really think that I don't have a name for it, but whatever I feel for my baby is like different than anything you know, I love my sisters. But I don't have a word for what I feel for my baby. Yeah. It's like a totally different feeling. Like love is in there. Yeah. But it's something else. I need her. Like I need her. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I need her.
So it's a different, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. It's so weird. It's so weird because they came from you. You carried, like, and if you carry a daughter, it's like you're carrying your daughter and your potential grandchildren.
I know, isn't that
at the same time
crazy?
Because they have all of their eggs.
I know.
Well, and it's just like, so you're like, what the fuck? So you're like, you go like, oh my God, I'm like, I'm holding everything, but I also feel invisible. What the fuck is going on? Everything it's all everything at the same time.
It's also crazy how like their bones are your bones. Like they took your calcium.
No, I know. When you think about like what are the raw materials that I made this baby out of, I have no idea.
If let's suppose I were to have a boy, I literally would be growing his balls and dick.
Yeah.
He didn't grow that himself.
Yeah.
I grew your balls for you.
Yeah.
It's really mind-blowing, and I feel like it's something that you don't like. Even my whole pregnancy, I didn't think about it, and then afterwards I was like, wait a second, what are you made out of? Where did you come from?
Raw materials are all you.
What did I used to have that's gone and is now a person?
Literally the dad is just DNA and blueprint, right? But the raw materials are literally all you.
Yeah.
Does this mean you'll feel guilty if your son has a very, very tiny penis?
No,
Probably.
that's the blueprint. The blueprint would have come from dad. Like I didn't say how long or how short.
Yeah.
Like I didn't come with a code.
All
I just
the things
came with
I
the
don't
materials.
like, I blame on Andy.
Yeah, of course.
If she has an allergy that I find, I'm a little judgmental of, I'm like, it's yours.
You know how they say you take a fragment of dad's DNA into your body and sometimes express it genetically? Like, is there anything about Dave's like being or your partner's being where you're like, oh, like some women that all of a sudden have curly hair and they're like, where is this coming from? And it actually comes from like fragments of the dad's DNA. Is there anything about like your immune systems that's better or anything different?
I don't know about that, but I felt a personality shift during pregnancy where I felt like I was more of a loving person. Like it just like manifested as like how I felt and treated people, and I think that's like Dave and Ace and not me. I think they did that to me.
And do you have any of Andy in you?
I hope not.
Oh my God. Okay, well, we have to wrap it up. We're out of time, but Rosebud, thank you so much for being here.
Of course.
Where can people get tickets to come see you?
Rosebudbaker.com.
Okay.
And I'm on tour for the rest of the summer. So
hit us with some cities. Where are you going to be coming up?
San Francisco next weekend. After that, Vermont, Burlington, Vermont. I got some cities in the Midwest. I think my tour dates are, there's my baby. Thank you so much. Burlington, Los Angeles, I already did. Toronto, Houston, Nashville, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, San Diego, Madison, Wisconsin, and Chicago.
Honolulu.
Oh my God.
I did Honolulu.
Oh, damn it. That's
was
why
so
you were
fun.
there.
Where are
I
you
know.
playing in Chicago?
Zanies.
Oh my God, fun. You
I
guys
know.
go see Rosebud. Thank you for being here. We love
Oh my
you.
God,
We'll
thanks
see you
for
next
having me.
time.
This
we'll
was
see you
so
guys
fun.
next week with a brand new episode.
Yay.